Hello everyone! Welcome back to the studio for this week's episode of Tutorial Tuesday. I'm so glad you're here with me in the studio. My name is Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings, and you're here for episode 75 of Tutorial Tuesday. It has just started with the really fun and beautiful autumn weather here in Utah, and I thought we would paint a painting that kind of represents that. There'll be a beautiful little sunrise scene with some wonderful clouds and good colors in the sky, autumn leaves, and just a fresh little dusting of snow. I'm so excited, so I'd hope you will join me in this painting. Let's jump up to the canvas and see what we've got going on. I've already prepped my standard 18 by 24 inch canvas with a thin, even coat of liquid white, and it's ready to go. The paint list will be down in the description if you'd like to see that. Definitely going to be playing with some fun colors today. Let's pick up the 1-inch brush, and we're going to start with a little pop of sky here. We'll just use some of the titanium white, just a touch of crimson, the tiniest little bit. Let's bring some of that up now. I'm going to add just a touch of dark sienna to it, just the tiniest bit. Get just a touch of movement happening in the sky. Just reload that brush. Keep going. I think it's kind of fun to vary out your paintings a little bit, and you don't always have to have the same amount of sky in each scene or the same amount of foreground. And these last couple paintings, I was trying to do some fun skies. It's really enjoyable to spend time building all the fun colors. You can really go crazy with pretty much anything in the sky. Sunset and sunrise. Throw all the colors of the rainbow. Let's get a little bit more of that dark in there. Same colors, we're just getting it a little stronger now. More pigment, really loading the brush, really working on getting those values happening. Work some down over into here. We're going to have a little path here. So we'll just work in a touch of that color in the center. Just a little idea. We're going to build on these colors here and this sky. Let's use our blending brush now and just soften. I'm going to start in the lighter areas where there's less pigment and work those first. And then we can just come back through and soften out the rest. Now let's pick up the sable brush. We're going to go into some titanium white, a lot of titanium white, and just the tiniest bit of Prussian blue. We're just going to mix up a real nice light blue color here. More titanium white. So bright, so fun. Just let it kind of gray out into this crimson and sienna. We're just going for a nice little pop of some blues. Little bit more blue, just the same kind of thick paint, just blending it on the sable brush. Now we've already blended back this top area, so the sable brush is going to do kind of two parts. It's scrubbing a little tiny bit of this crimson off, but largely we're almost doing like a little bit of kind of like a glazing action here. So it's sitting right on top, and so we're just layering the thick and thin together and working with them. So as long as you're careful, you can go back and forth with a lot of these colors like this, and it's real fun. I love using the sable brush. It can be kind of challenging to learn how to use it at first, but I really, really love using it. It's such a fun tool. And I've got some red sable brushes and some black sable brushes. I think it's just the softness of them that is going to be a little bit different on the two. So you can try them both out and see which ones you like more. I don't usually have a preference, so I just like to use them. Let's add some more blue into that. Tad of crimson. I want it to get a little more dark here. Nice and thick paint here. All right, I'm going to take some blue and some crimson, and we'll just pick out a little bit of these colors down here below. Nice and cool down here. You can apply the paint and even soften it back with this sable brush. Works real nice. We'll just soften this down here. Got lots of very thick paint on here. Now I'm doing very long out and back stroke. It's very important, not just one. Go back, out and back. And we're just using the sable brush in this long stroke, and you can soften all of this down. You can use a big brush, but you don't have to. There's lots of different ways that we can make this work for us. We can add back in the smallest bit of some of our land features, get our lines kind of in. And we can add a touch over here. A little bit of white. Fine. Okay, let's do a little bit more in the sky. I'm just going to pick up a touch more of my blue here. We'll do just a touch. We'll just add a little bit of this kind of dark into the corner. Bring some around. We'll let this be a little lighter over here. Just like that. Pick up the blending brush now. We're going to go into this center area and really make this feel nice and bright. Soften out these blues. A little bit more titanium white and blue. Just like the light is kind of popping right through here, I want it to be a little bit brighter. And we'll do the same thing right down here. Soften that back a little bit. That largely kind of conditioned now. We've got our base coat. Let's start adding in some clouds. I'm going to use the crimson and dark sienna. Good bit of both, and I'm going to grab the tiniest bit of sap green. Sap green and alizarin crimson make a really nice brown. And we're just going to warm it up a touch with our dark sienna. Now, let's decide. We're going to have some clouds in here. Let's add just a touch of bright red. Let's add a touch of blue, just a touch. And a tiny bit of titanium white. We need to lighten it up just a touch. There we are. Crimson, blue. Oh, way too much blue. A little bit more. There we go. A little crimson on that. Just using the same dirty brush to kind of soften back a couple areas. And then we'll pick up our blending brush in a second here and blend it some more. Blending brush. take our blending brush, wipe it off just a touch, and lift. Then we soften everything out. All right, let's start building some highlights in this sky. I'm gonna just clean off a little bit of this big old mess I made there. Whoop. Whoop. Double drop. Okay, fan brush, and we're gonna do, let's try titanium white and yellow ochre, touch of Indian yellow, but not too much. We don't want to turn our sky green yet. We'll add just a touch of dark sienna and bright red. Give a little bit of depth there. And we want this to be medium texture, so we'll just lighten it up. A little bit of liquid white, and it'll just thin it just enough. All right, now we're going to use this color, and we'll add in some highlights around our sky area. But you know, looking at it, I think we need to add just a touch more of this blue-white sky again. We lost just a touch of it. And I want it to be nice and bright right here. Titanium white and Prussian blue. And we'll just soften that down a tiny bit. Now, with our lovely bright highlight color, I think we're going to make it just a touch darker, and we'll come back in with one more on top. That'll be fun. And here we go, right on the light. Wipe it off. Reload, we're going to do that a lot, wiping off and reloading, because we're going to pick up color and we don't want to muddy it down too much yet. Reloading. Indian yellow, touch of dark sienna, bright red, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, all the colors, all the bright colors. Wipe it off and reload. Indian yellow. Kind of ran out of my medium thickness, so it's getting a little thick there. So we just thin it down with a little bit of liquid white. Let's blend these out. Pick up your blending brush, make sure it's pretty clean. We don't want to bring any of our blues into these golds here. Ooh, I'm really liking these colors over here. I don't usually have like a test run on these paintings. I kind of just go and hope that it all works out. So it's kind of fun sometimes when they're a little more challenging and it doesn't go as planned and we have to fix it. But today I'm really liking these colors and the plan is still going. So that makes it kind of fun. Let's see if we can bring it all together here. Lift. And soften. All right, now we're gonna do a few little highlights, some pops of color. Go right into your liquid white. We need it nice and thin, Indian yellow and yellow ochre. Just our yellows. We're going for a medium to slightly thinner than medium thickness. We want it nice and gold. Now we'll just take this and we're going to tickle it on these edges here where we're going to have a lot of light popping through. Reload. A little bit more. Now, we're not going to wipe off the brush. We're just going to continue moving up and reloading. So we can let it get a little bit muddy now. Just a little bit though. Reload. Don't wipe it off. Reloading. We'll go into just a touch of red. It's kind of just getting a little bit darker as we're moving. All right, now we're going to soften that back again. This time we have to be pretty careful not to wipe your hands off in the painted part of your towel. Don't do that. Makes big messes. Okay. Cleaned off. And we're just lightly, very, very carefully, we're just going to move around a little bit of that light. Bring it down and around onto some of the rest of that cloud. Very, very careful, just to lightly get some of that paint to move just a little. We don't want to soften all of it back. We want to keep that nice strong line happening there. Yeah, ooh, I love that. So cool. And I'll lift in a couple areas. On these ones, we're going to pull down so that we don't lift the highlight into the dark. We want to pull it a little bit more into this light part here. A little different there. Nice. There we go. Now, sable brush one more time. Very lightly. I had a few pink brush strokes in there that I wanted to just push away a little bit. I like it. Titanium white. A little bit goes a long way in here. All right, now fan brush, liquid white, mostly white now. but we still needed to have a little bit of a color, a little bit of a tint. Dark sienna. There it is. Soften that just barely. I like it. All right. I'm going to work on this little foothill of a mountainy thing down here. Just going to do something nice and simple today. We'll use some alizarin crimson, sap green, dark sienna, and Prussian blue. All the colors that we've been using. Let's add a touch of bright red in there as well. Be a pretty brown color. I wanted a little bit to the blue side, so we'll add some more crimson and Prussian blue. Mix it up very good today. All right, we're going to use this color here, cut off a little roll of it. And we'll put in ourselves a little mountain. Nice rocky foothill here. In the mountains. And we'll just get some of that paint, scrape it down. Get it nice and filled in. Let's try that, and then we'll blend out the base of it with a big brush. Got a little crazy there with the paint. I'll just come right up with a fresh bit and make it a new mountain. Boop. Like it never happened. Nobody will know except for us. Now, we need to just soften a tiny bit of that bit that we just added. Highlights and shadows. Let's mix up our shadow color first. we'll use some blue, touch of our mountain color, and some titanium white. Marble those together. Don't overmix this. This is so important when you're doing highlights and shadows on this mountains. Don't overmix your paint. Now, our light source is coming from somewhere behind these mountains, slightly to the left-hand side. So for ease, let's just go ahead and start with our shadows. They'll be coming in on this. Sorry, this light is on the left. I don't know my left from right. This one, that's my left. And we've got some fresh snow out here. It's a nice, almost end of autumn day. Our light source kind of potentially coming in a little bit, bouncing off. So let's go ahead and put a tiny bit of shadow on this backside here. Make all kinds of fun little ridges out here. Just throw them in. Maybe we'll have some more. Now let's do a few highlights. Titanium white. We can go into this peach color. Let's save that one for in a minute. We'll start with a little bit of a darker color, crimson and bright red. And we'll add some dark sienna, just a touch. And we'll cut off a little roll of this paint. Now, let's build on that. We've got this peach color down here. A little bit lighter. A random hair from something else showed up on the knife. Probably my new fan brushes. Now titanium white, and we're going to brighten up our shadow. We want some nice crisp white and blue. Marble the blue in. We'll cut off a roll. have some nice fresh snow. Love it. Now I'm going to take these highlights and pull them over just a little bit to the snow side. And we get just a touch of that peach to pull down into our shadow. And it just kind of makes the sun play right off of it. Add some right here. And grab just a touch there. Nice. Soften this back and lift. Awesome. Now I'm going to do some trees. Let's go into crimson and dark sienna. We'll do a touch of bright red as well. And let's just start a little tree line over here. Let's add some yellow ochre to it. Touch of Indian yellow. Just soften these a little bit here. Let's do one more row. Bright red, dark sienna, yellow ochre, alizarin crimson. Now let's also do our little tree. We're going to have a tree over here. Dark sienna and bright red, yellow ochre. Yeah, let's use a fan brush and go into some thick titanium white and some of these yellows, just a little bit on the fan brush, and we're going to pull up just a few ideas of some distant tree trunks. They're barely there. And we'll pick up the 1-inch brush, wipe it out, go into your liquid white and Indian yellow, nice and dirty brush. Most of the dark is off now, but we're thinning it down to a medium texture gold with the mud on. And we're going to highlight some trees right on the tops, the tippy tops. Far away. Soften it out at the base. And we'll pop a few highlights. Just the start of some on this tree here. Let's think about our script liner. Let's do a little bit of a tree branches here before we get too much into our highlights. We can come back in and put some more after we do our highlights. Make sure it's pretty thin. It's not going to glide very well unless it's thin. So if you're having trouble getting the paint to stick or to show up this dark, thin it down. I'm just using my brush wash here. Now let's use fan brush. We're going to go into some of this dark that we have left over, and maybe we have a couple pine trees out here just standing tall. And we can start building just a small little area right here. Maybe these will just go right off the edge over here. Let's see, get some of this pulled down in our direction. We're going to have a nice little road. And we'll take a few little bits of highlight. We'll just highlight the trees just a tiny bit. We can use a little bit of our greens and yellows. And we'll dance on just a little tiny bit of color. Now liquid white into our titanium white. And a little bit of bright red, just a tiny bit. And we're going to plop on some snow right on the right hand side of these where our light source is. We'll use a little bit of this pinkish white, just a tiny bit of pink in it. And then liquid white into some blue, a little bit more blue, and titanium white. A nice shadow color. It does need to be thin. Just a little hint there. Then we can take the titanium white. We can use this right on the fan brush. Usually works pretty well for me. You can use a 1-inch brush or 2-inch brush, but I'm just going to use the fan brush. And we'll pull across our snow. Fresh white snow. Now we've got a lot of titanium white. We just want to kind of soften some of that back and make it look like it's a little windblown, kind of. Just soften it. Nice and thick. Like this one here, we'll bring it right up. Now we'll get a little bit of blue into that titanium white, and let's see if we can't bring around our path here. think snow can be kind of fun to paint because you can do it in a lot of different ways. But I just like to make it nice and soft because that's what I think is the prettiest. Now let's see if we can do a nice little bit of, let's use a sable brush and we'll go into Van Dyke Brown. And we'll just put in a little, kind of like a tire trail going through here. Like somebody just made their way through the snow. On the fresh dusting. Now we can just soften it out. A little bit more white in our blue. Nice. Let's do a few little bits of snow on some of these branches, just where they're kind of flat. Nice good bits of snow coming in, hitting these branches. Let's see if we can't get some more fun highlights on here. I'm going to go into some Indian yellow and bright red. More Indian yellow. We do need some liquid white. Touch of bright red. if you have trouble getting it to stick, just get more of your liquid medium. And down here at the bottom, we can get a little bit more red. Now, let's do a few more branches. Just a couple that came missing a little bit here, and we can just bring them back out. And do a few. Now let's see if we can do some more fun stuff here with the snow. I'm going to go just into a little bit of blue and titanium white with my palette knife. Now that we have our nice little kind of idea of our outline and the way that this little hill is looking, we can come back in with some more thick snow. And have some fun. We can just layer some of this up. Make it a little bit of a peachy blue. It's got just a touch of red in it. Right at the base here. Try and get a nice good scrub in there. Now we can take our fan brush and a little bit of dark, and we can add in few little bits of our grasses that can be standing up there behind and under some of the snow. Now a touch of white and some bright red on the fan brush. And we'll just touch in a few bits of highlights and snow kind of sitting on top there. Right over here. can add in some little bits in at the base. Fun. Maybe we can pick out a few more of these. And with the script liner and a little bit of a lighter color. Palette knife. Few little sticks and twigs on these guys here. Grab a little bit of this brown and see if we can get this little path just to etch in there again. Maybe we'll have just a little tiny bit of dirt kind of popping through underneath some of this snow. That's a little bit more muddy over here. Yay! Yeah, I like that. Super fun. I think I'm going to be done. Give this a little signature. Brush wash. Bright red. I ran out, so we'll start new. All right, I see a nice little spot over here. Let's give it a go. All right, I'm all done with my painting for today. I had so much fun painting this little sunrise scene with you all. I was just imagining that fresh snow that has just fallen. Looks like somebody's kind of still out there hanging out, and maybe they're having a little fire, watching the sunrise, maybe drinking some coffee, I don't know. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this painting, and I would love to hear in the comments below what you think. Let me know, please, and thank you so much for being a part of this channel. I've had so much fun. I can't believe we're already almost, it's 75 episodes. So it's just crazy to be doing those every single Tuesday, and that you guys are all still showing up for it. So thank you so much for being a part of my channel. Smile and be happy, friends.